Guys, welcome to my video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a Christmas tree in Maya. So this is the scene I made, and this is how it looks like in the render view. So I'm gonna open up a new scene, and I'm gonna be using Mesh most of all to distribute branches and leaves. So I'm gonna create a new scene. I'm gonna start by making a cylinder, and I don't really need those caps at the moment, so I'm gonna delete that, and I'm gonna stretch it out and maybe just make it a bit more slim. Now this is gonna be the branch, and now I can make another plane for the leaf, and we don't need any subdivision, so let's leave it like that, and I'm gonna stretch it out as well. Let's relocate the pivot. You can do it by pressing D, by the way. And now we are ready to distribute these leaves on this cylinder surface by using mesh. So select the leaf and create mesh network. And if you go to mesh 1 distribute, you can see distribution type, and I'm going to change it to mesh. And now I'm going to grab this cylinder mesh and drag it to input mesh. Now it's connected. And at the moment the plane mesh is hidden, so I'm gonna press H to make it show up again. And apparently the orientation seems to be a bit wrong, so let's make it right. So I'm gonna go to the face selection mode and rotate it and move it to just make it stick to the surface properly. Yeah. Let's scale it down, and you can now model this object, and the changes will be applied to all of these distributed mesh, so it's pretty handy, and that's why I use mesh for modeling branches and tree. So now I'm gonna go to the vertex selection mode, and let's raise it up, something like that. And you can add curvature, and basically you can add as much detail as you want. But I think that's enough for this tutorial. So if you're done, just exit the edit mode and go to the mesh network again, and you can increase number of points like that. I think something like 100 seems to be okay. And by the way, if you don't want to see that black shadow, you can go to lighting and two-sided lighting and just enable it. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is go again and select mesh, and I'm gonna assign a random node. Actually, we don't need to randomize the position X, I'm just gonna randomize position Y, and probably rotation just a little bit, and scale. You can just see how it changes as you adjust all the values. I think that looks fine. So if you think it's okay, you can delete history and delete mesh network as well. And let's hide the original source mesh for now, and I'm gonna assign a material before we merge them together. So assign new material. I'm gonna call it AI leaf and make it green or something, or even you can apply a color texture. And another material for the branch, AI branch or whatever, and make it something like dark brown or gray would be fine. So now I'm gonna combine those two objects and delete history and maybe freeze transformation, and relocate the pivot as well. So now we're done with one branch, but it seems to be a bit short at the moment, so I'm gonna duplicate one and just add one another on top of it. So now we got two of them, and combine it again. Right. Then relocate the pivot again. So now I'm gonna distribute this mesh onto another object. Let's create another cylinder and scale it up and delete the caps. Make it a bit taller. And let's rotate it before we create another mesh network. Maybe freeze transformation before you go. Now let's go back to FX preset and create another mesh network. Again, change the distribution type to mesh. Connect the cylinder. Now we got this, it looks a bit weird. Let's unhidden the branch mesh and let's move it back, something like that. The orientation seems to be wrong again, but you can just improvise something like this. Okay, now it seems to be fine, and we're ready to distribute again. Let's scale it down before we go. Select everything and scale it down. Relocate. There we go. And select mesh network again, and I'm gonna increase the number of points probably 200, maybe even more. And as we did before, another random node, and add a little bit of randomness. And rotation as well. And lastly, the scale. It looks a bit messy at the moment, but it's totally fine. So if you're done with randomizing the scale and everything, you can again delete history, or if you just want to keep this for further editing, you can just duplicate one and hide the original one. So now we have it. Let's duplicate one of these and make it taller. Let's rotate it for a bit more randomness. There we go. And I'm gonna combine it. Delete the history, and now I'm gonna add a deformer. You can go to deform and nonlinear and flare deformer to create a pyramid shape, and you can adjust N flare X and Z to make a pyramid shape, and also the low and high bound. Let's take a closer look. You can make the bottom a little wider as well, since you can make whatever shape you want. If you think it looks good, you can select the mesh and delete history. Now the controllers are gone. Now this is the tree model basically. And let's select the cylinder, and probably we need to make it taller to fit this in. And we got this original source mesh we made before, and I can actually bring it to the top. Here to fill the actual tree. So okay. It looks a bit distracting, so what I'm gonna do is grab a knife tool and grab the very top vertices and just merge it to center. Okay, now it's less visible. In the final render, you're not gonna be able to see this because of the shadings. So basically almost done. Finally, I'm gonna distribute another piece of object, which is the light decoration. So you can simply model the light by making a sphere, and I'm just gonna make it a bit capsule looking. So let's fill it by extruding and merging it to the center, and relocate the pivot as well. Do the smooth shading by going to mesh display and soften harden edges, and also apply a new material, AI light, and go to emission and add emission weight. Now I'm gonna create another mesh network and do the same process as we did before. This is repro mesh 3, so we can just bring it in. It's gonna take some time because it's a very high poly mesh. Now almost there, so we can increase the number of points, probably at 100. You can add as much as you want. Probably 500. Seems to be too big at the moment, so let's scale it down. Now basically the modeling done. If you wanna improve the model a little bit, you can make a little lag for the tree. I'm just gonna extrude the cube and extrude it again. Something like that. This is what I did for the previous scene. I don't remember exactly what I did, but yeah, I did something like this. Model it, something like that. And assign a new material for the legs and make it something like gray. Good. Now we can jump to the rendering process. Before we go, let's save the scene. Before I do a test render, I'm gonna create a ground plane, something like that. Assign a new material, Let's make it less shiny and probably no subdivisions. And make a wall. That's gonna be enough. And smooth it out if you want. And before we go, let's tweak the material a little bit. For the branch, just less specular and high roughness will be fine. For the leaf, you can add a bit more roughness, and you can add subsurface scattering with green color, but it will slow down your render, so it's not mandatory, but it will make more realistic. So I guess that's enough. A little extra tip for randomizing the color of the lights. You can select the material and go to base color and click this icon and select Arnold and search for color jitter. There we go, AI color jitter node, and you can add for example any base color you want and change the type to object, and you can add hue randomization, something like that. It doesn't appear on the viewport, but it will in the render view. So now finally we need a light for the scene. So I'm gonna go ahead with AI Skydome light and let's add color. You can probably add a HDRI file, but I don't have anything at the moment, so I'm gonna go ahead with ramp, and I can simply change the type to circular ramp and add a little bit of noise. It will be enough for this. So let's render this out. Probably it's too dark at the moment. Probably should rotate it. Let's do this again. I just wanna randomize the color of the lights, and let's select the lights and go back to the AI jitter node. I don't think it's working at the moment. Oh, actually I had to connect this to emission color, not the base color. Let me fix this real quick. I can go to Hypershade and bring up the network. Just grab the line and connect it to emission color. Easy fix. There we go. So right now you see a little bit of color hue, maybe not at all. So let's increase hue max. Now we see something. Actually, I should go with face type since it's all merged in one object. So I'm gonna increase hue again. There we go. You see more vibrant lights. So now you can frame up by going to the render settings and choose whatever resolution you want, and set the samplings. Frame this up and add depth of field and other environments and other props you want, and render this out. And that's all I did for this render right here. And I think that's it for this tutorial. So thanks for watching and Merry Christmas.